Now we are dealing with our new chapter, that is chemistry in everyday life. All the main branches of science, that is chemistry, physics, biology, are useful to humanity in one or the other way. But the leading out of these is chemistry. Because without chemistry, we can't imagine the life as we are having. The multicolored clothes we wear utilize different dyes. The cosmetics, the shampoos and the creams, soaps, detergents, and all other medicines also involves the skill of chemistry. So we are starting chemistry and its uses in our everyday life. Chemistry can also be used in medicines. So human body is prone to many diseases as we know. The drugs or the medicines are the chemical substances which are given from time to time to cure these diseases. The treatment of the disease by means of the chemicals that have specific toxic effect upon the disease producing microorganism is called chemotherapy, and the various drugs which are used for the purpose are called chemotherapeutic agent. Now, how to design these drugs? This means selecting it for curing a particular disease. I mean designing of a drug mean selecting a drug for curing a particular disease. Two main factors responsible for selecting is first one is your target, drug target we call it as. So biomolecules are called targets because the drugs are going to attack these targets. Biomolecules, we as we have studied, are our carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, nucleic acids. So all these biomolecules are acting as a target on which the drug is attacking to cure a disease. And second thing is your drug metabolism. Every drug travels through the body and reaches a particular target wherever it is present on which it has to act. The drug should not be metabolized in between and after performing its desired action. That means it should not be used by the body before or after performing its action. It should be excreted out doing without any harm to the body. So drug metabolism should be kept in our mind before selecting or before designing any drugs. So there are two reasons to select a drug for curing a particular disease. First one, it should be a drug target, and second one, it should be a drug metabolism. Second thing is the classification of drugs. We can classify different drugs on the basis of pharmacological effect. The choice or the selection of the drug is linked with the pharmacological effect. This means what is its effect in the body. For example, we are taking analgesic drugs if we are having pain because they are painkiller. Antiseptics are those drugs which kills or stop the growth of the microorganism. If I am having pain in some part of my body and I am taking antiseptic to cure it, it will never be cured. So a drug should be chosen on the basis of its pharmacological effects. Second is based on the action or on a particular biochemical processes against which it is to act. For example, allergies. Allergies can be caused in a number of ways. For example, we can have an allergy from dust, we can have allergy from pollen grains, and all these allergies are different in the nature. So a drug which is effective to the allergy due to pollen grains will not be effective to the allergy to your dust. So we have to note the action of a particular biochemical process, okay, against which it is has to be acting. The next one is our based on the chemical structure. All drugs targets are biomolecules. Again, they are your carbohydrate, protein, nucleic acid, vitamins, which have specific chemical structure, and we have discussed these structure in our chapter biomolecules, about which they are very particular. The different drugs available to act on the same target are also expected to have the similar structure. If a drug is acting on a carbohydrate biomolecule, then the drug should also have the structure similar to that of carbohydrate. If it is acting on a nucleic acid, then it has a structure similar to that of the nucleic acid. And next one is based on molecular target. Selection of the drug is also linked with the nature of the target, also called molecular target. These are basically biomolecules such as your carbohydrate, lipids, protein, and nucleic acid again. Now, how the interaction of drugs with the target take place, यानी कि how the interaction of drugs with these carbohydrates, proteins, or your nucleic acid is taking place. We know that in our surface chemistry, we have studied that enzyme, which is a protein, function by combining with the reaction of a substrate. रिएक्टेंट के साथ रिएक्ट करता है जिसे हम सबस्ट्रेट बोलते हैं टू फॉर्म एन एक्टिवेटेड कॉम्प्लेक्स known as enzyme substrate complex. The complexes dissociate to form product and release the enzyme for carrying out the further activity. This we have already studied in our surface chemistry. For example, enzyme plus substrate will form enzyme substrate complex, which will be converted into enzyme product complex, and then the product is released and enzymes is further liberated out to carry the further activities of the process. So if this enzyme in this complex, the amino acids is acting as an enzyme, again saying the amino acids are acting as an enzymes and which has an active sites. So the on the enzymes where the amino acids are present, that is your active site, and the substrate is binding on this active site only. They hold the substrate molecules through a variety of interaction bondings upon the nature, or which depends upon the nature of the substrate. These bondings may be hydrogen bond, simple dipole-dipole interaction. It may be your covalent bonding or the ionic bonding, and in this way enzyme substrate complex is formed. So what is the role of drugs on this enzyme target? Now what happens, there is a competition between the chemical constituent of the drug, which is very similar to that of your substrate, and here the substrate is your any biomolecule. So any biomolecule has a similar composition as that of the chemical composition as that of the drug, and the natural substrate to attack the active site of the enzyme. So there is a competition between the substrate and the drugs to attack on this active site. If the drug attack this active site, it will form a drug enzyme complex, and the substrate will not be able to bind with this enzyme, and the product will not be released, which is a harmful product. Next one is your drug bind themselves to the different sites in the enzyme, which is known as allotropic sites. Mean the drug enzyme has an active site as well as an allotropic site. Now in this case, the drug is binding on the allostatic site, and when the drug binds this allostatic site, the shape of the active site changes, and now this substrate is not able to bind with this active site. As a result, the product will not be formed and we will not be able to get the harmful disease. Now the interaction of drugs with the receptor target. The protein which are responsible for the communication system in the body are called the receptors. Mean those proteins which are responsible for the communication is known as your receptors, and those proteins which are used as a biocatalyst are known as enzymes. These receptors are embedded in the cell membrane in such a way that the small portion lies outside the cell membrane, and these cell outside portions are having the binding surfaces. The receptor target have specific role to perform. They help in the transferring messages from the messenger to the cell. Now these receptors will start transferring the messages to the cell. The messengers are the chemical compound which are received by the active site of the receptor proteins. In order to receive these messengers, active site may undergo a change in shape. Now see here, this is the chemical messenger and this is your active site, that is your binding site, which is lying in the receptors outside the membrane. Now this active site has changed its shape. So in order to receive any chemical messenger, chemical messengers are your drugs, it may be. So it changes the shape of the active site, and once the message is transferred, it is transferred, these are the signals which are transferring the message. It's transferred, they leave the active sites and the binding sites comes again to its original shape. Therefore, the messengers deliver their messages through receptor protein without entering the cell. Drugs has to enter the cells in the form of enzymes, but these chemical messengers will not enter into the cell. They will only uh, attach on the binding sites of the receptors which are projected out of the surface, and due to bind on the active sites, these receptors may undergo a shape in the chain. Now there are two types of chemical messengers. We are having hormones and neurotransmitters. So hormones, as we know that hormones are the group of biomolecules which are produced in the endocrine gland and are transferred to different part of the body by the bloodstream and control various metabolic processes. They actually perform a long journey in the body, and during that they activate all receptors which recognize them. For example, the hormone adrenaline is an amine hormone secreted from the adrenal medulla in situation of stress or danger. It prepared the body to perform physical exercise and also to bear all types of stress and strain. So these are the hormones which are acting as a chemical messenger. Next one is our neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the chemical compound which bind themselves to the active sites of the surface of the receptor protein for a very small duration, and after delivering the message, they leave the site without undergoing any change. The receptor transfers the message to the cell, and after leaving the sites, the neurotransmitters undergo degradation and lose their activity to act as a messenger again. This means that they get deactivated. In order to regain the same, the degradation products goes back to the nerve ending to form the active messenger again, which can act as a chemical messengers. Now we will deal with the role of drugs for the receptor target. Drugs blocks the entry of the messengers on the active sites of the receptor target. So what is the role of these drugs as a receptor? Just like the drug and the substrate has a competition for joining on the active sites of the enzyme. Similarly here the drug and that chemical messenger will have the competition to bind on the active sites on the receptor target. The receptors are very specific in nature. One receptor cannot hold all the chemical messengers. The drugs which binds to the receptor site and inhibit or retard their functioning are called antagonistics. So those drugs which binds on the receptor sites and inhibit or block the functioning of the its functioning is called an antagonistic, and the drugs which tries to befool the natural messenger by switching on the receptor are called agonistics. Now there are different types of drugs are there. First category of this is neurological active drugs. These affect the messages transferred mechanism from the nerves to the receptors, and they have two types. First one is your tranquilizers and the second one is your analgesics. Tranquilizers are those drugs given to the patient suffering from anxiety and mental stress. So these drugs generally reduces the stress or the mental tension. So here I have given you some example of tranquilizer, Equinil, Secronil, and iprozide is an example of tranquilizers. Analgesics are the second category of neurological active drugs. Again, they will affect our central nervous system. The chemical substances which are used for relieving pain in the body by acting on the central nervous system are known as your analgesics, and these are mainly your painkillers. And again, analgesics are of two types: narcotics drugs and non-narcotics drugs. Narcotics drugs are those drugs which produce sleep and unconsciousness. So in our sleeping pills we are having narcotics drugs, and most of them are opium derivative. Poppy is the plant, and poppy plants, the compound which is formed from the poppy plant are known as opium. So these narcotic drugs are opium derivatives, are called opiates. So here we are having morphine, heroin, codeines, and all these drugs are habit forming drugs but are very effective analgesics. And they have been banned from their use because they cause habit. So they give relief from the post operational surgeries, cardiac pain, and also in the used in cancers. Narcotic drugs are habit forming drugs and therefore they have been banned in country. Non-narcotic drugs, these are again the painkillers. These are not as effective as your opium derivatives in relieving the pain, but they are not habit-forming drugs. Therefore, they are mostly used as analgesics. For example, your aspirin or Bufrin are the examples of your analgesics, and these are your non-narcotic drugs. Aspirin has an anti-blood clotting action, therefore they are used by the heart patients. So aspirin used as analgesics also and as an anti-blood clotting agents also. Next one comes your antipyretics. Antipyretics are the chemical substances which used to bring down the body temperature, yani ki it lowers our high fever. In this category, we are having analgesic, paracetamol, phenacetin, and aspirin again. So aspirin is a pain reliever as well as lowers the body temperature, therefore it is analgesic as well as antipyretic. Antimicrobials, the drugs which destroy microorganisms that are responsible for the disease in human beings and animals. Antimicrobials mean they are acting against the microbes. So the drugs which destroy microorganisms that are responsible for diseases in human beings and animals are known as your antimicrobial. Very good example is your streptomycin, which is used as an antimicrobial drug in the treatment of your tuberculosis. Next category comes as antibiotics. These are the drugs that are used to treat infections because of their toxicity for both human beings and animals. These are the chemical substances produced by the microorganisms like bacteria, fungi that inhibit or even destroy the disease causing microorganism. Means some of the small amount of disease causing bacteria are inserted in our body, and then they produce um, uh, more power in the body to fight against the infections whenever they comes in the body. So these diseases, these microorganisms are lying inside the body, and in this category we are having penicillin, tetracycline, and erythromycin. We are having two types of antibiotics. One is broad spectrum antibiotics and the second one is narrow spectrum antibiotics. Broad spectrum antibiotics, these are effective against the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. What are these gram positive and gram negative bacteria? There is a strain known as gram strain, um, just like your methyl orange or phenolphthalein or your saccharine. We are having different types of your strains. Iodine is a strain. Okay, so these are the strains known as gram strains. If these strains are effective toward a bacteria, they are known as gram positive bacteria, and if they are does not give strain toward the bacteria, they are your gram negative bacteria. So broad spectrum bacteria are effective to both gram positive and gram negative, whereas narrow spectrum antibiotics are only effective either to the gram positive or gram negative bacteria, and in this category we are having penicillin. Antiseptics. Antiseptics are the chemical substances which prevent the growth of microorganisms and may also kill them. They are applied on the living tissues. So those chemicals which are applied on the living tissue to stop the growth of microorganisms are known as your antiseptics, and we have given you an example here. Bethanol is used as an antiseptic in our soaps. Terpenols, we are having 0.2% of phenol is applied on the living tissues also. Tincture of iodine, that is iodine in alcohol, are the examples of antiseptics. So they uh, kills the microorganism on the living tissues. Disinfectants are the chemical substances which kill microorganisms but are not safe for contact with living tissues, mean they are not used on the living tissues, whereas they are used on a non-living tissues. If they are used in a living tissues, they become antiseptic, and the chemical substances which are used in a non-living tissues are known as disinfectant. For here we are having formaldehyde. 1% solution of phenol are known as disinfectants, whereas 0.2% of phenol is used as antiseptics. Now there are another category, that is anti-fertility drugs that prevent fertilization in animals. Those chemicals which prevent fertilization process are known as anti-fertility drugs, and they can be used mainly by the female. These are the hormone contraceptives and available for females only. So we are having synthetic estrogen, synthetic progesterone, which are the female hormones. So basically the hormone are disturbed, the hormones levels are changed in the body of the female, which prevent fertilization process. Next is antacids. Antacids are the chemical substance which can reduce the or neutralize the acidity in stomach, and therefore raise the pH to some appropriate level. And here we are having milk of magnesia, baking soda, aluminum hydroxide. And we know that aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide, that is milk of magnesia, is better than baking soda. This is because magnesium hydroxide and aluminum hydroxide get precipitated as they are water insoluble. As they are water insoluble, so they are precipitated in the body, whereas NaHCO3, that is baking soda, is water soluble and hydrolyzed to form NaOH. Whenever this NaHCO3 reacts with water, they form NaOH, which is a strong base and make the stomach highly alkaline, and therefore can cause ulcer. So it is better to use milk of magnesia than baking soda to remove acidity. Next category is our antihistamine. Those chemical substances which work against allergies in the body are known as antihistamine, and example has been given as Rentidine. Chemicals in food. We use the chemical in food in many ways. For example, for the food preservatives as a food color, sweeteners, fat emulsifier, stabilizing agent, antioxidant, or nutritional supplements. In these ways, we are using chemicals or additives, okay, which has been added to the food in order to preserve them. So for the food preservation, it is defined as a substance which is capable of inhibiting or asserting the process of fermentation, acidification, or any other decomposition of food. In this category, we use potassium metabisulfate as a food preservative, which liberate SO2, and this SO2 is acting as a preservative. We use this substance K2S2O5, that is potassium metabisulfate, because it's stable in neutral and alkaline medium, but it decomposes in the acidic medium. Then as a food color, we are using different colors for chemicals. For example, azo dye is used for imparting red color to the food, pyrrolizone for the yellow color, indigoid for the blue color, and triphenylmethane is for green color in the foods. Artificial sweeteners are there. These are sweet in taste, but they do not add any calories to the food item, so they are used by the diabetic patients also. Here we are having saccharine. Saccharine is 550 times sweeter than sucrose. Aspartame is 100 times sweeter than sucrose, and this is present in soft drinks and cold food because it get destroyed on heating. Sucralose is used in hot foods and the time of cooking temperature. L-ethamine, these all are the examples of your artificial sweeteners. Then we can use antioxidant which prevent oxidation of the food, or which prevent rancidity, that is aerial oxidation of the fat or oil present in the food, and the chemicals are your BHT and BHA. BHT is your butyl hydrated toluenes and butyl hydrated aerosols. Vitamin E is also used as anti-aging, and it prevents the wrinkling on the face. Therefore, it is used as an antioxidant. Sodium sulfite and sulfur dioxide are used as an antioxidant for wine, beers, sugar syrups, dried fruits, and vegetables. Now, chemistry is also used as a cleansing agent. We know that soaps and detergents are the sodium or potassium salts of higher fatty acid, and the process of formation of soaps from fatty acid in the presence of alkali is known as saponification. Fatty acids plus NaOH give rise to soap plus glycerol. The saponification reaction gives soap in colloidal form only. We have studied in our surface chemistry also that soap solutions are colloidal solution. The separation of the soap from glycerol can be done with the help of a process known as salting out of the soap. In this process, calculated amount of salt is added to the saturated mixture of solution. It helps in the precipitation of the soap due to the common ion effect. RCONA is salt, in which we are getting Na positive and RCOO negative. Na positive is your added salt, and again we are getting Na positive and Cl negative. This Na positive is our common ion. Due to the Le-Chatelier's principle, the precipitation process take place, and the precipitated salt can be separated from the oil layer of the oil of the glycerol by filtration process. What is the disadvantage of using of soap? Because it does not form good leather in the hard water, because the calcium and magnesium salts present in the hard water get precipitated out as your calcium salts and magnesium salts, and as a result lot of soap get wasted without forming any leather. Then there comes the synthetic detergents. Synthetic detergents are also known as soapless soaps because they have the cleansing properties just like of the soap, but they are better than soaps, therefore they are known as soapless soaps. Now detergents can be, depending upon their characters, they may be of anionic detergent, cationic detergent, or non-ionic detergent. Anionic detergent, these are either the sulfates or sulfonates of long chain hydrogens. They are the constituents of the toothpaste. Cationic detergents, they are the acetates, chlorides or bromides of the quaternary ammonium salts, and they are generally present in hair conditioners. I have given you the examples here. Non-ionic detergents, these detergents are simply long chain organic compounds and are ester in nature. They are present in our liquid dishwashers. Detergents have advantage over soaps, and they form good lather with hard water and have more cleansing action. But these detergents are non-biodegradable in nature, and this is the biggest disadvantage of detergents. But we have prepared some biodegradable detergents also. They are called soft detergents. They are alkyl sulfates or alkyl benzene sulfonate. Example are your sodium alluryl sulfate or sodium and dodecyl benzene sulfate.